Well, Manchester City, they are breaking records for all of the wrong reasons at the minute. Guardiola put them ahead against Manchester United at the Etihad, but Manchester United come roaring back. Bruno Fernandes had the one goal that was a penalty to equalise things, and then Ahmed as well in the 90th minute, and Pep Guardiola is left scratching his head once again. They've only won one match in their last 11 now. Is this the new Manchester City? Typical City. As you can see at the top, it's just... It feels like every week it's hitting a new low. We're wondering when it's going to stop because, Grella, we've seen Manchester City in this position before, maybe heading into Christmas where they're not at their best, and then they turn things around in the new year drastically and they go on and win the Premier League, they compete in the Champions League. But this spiral feels much different, doesn't it?
First of all, I would saran wrap this guy's head if you're in the medical staff or you're part of someone that cares about him, because he's scratching his head the entire game. I don't think he knows what's going on. This is uncharted territory in terms of you don't know where the bottom is, and that's kind of scary. Like, every game that they lose has been so significant, not just because it's a loss, but because of the opponent. You know, Juventus away. Now in the derby, they were winning 3-0 to Feyenoord, and they conceded 3 at home. In the last 15 minutes? It's like every chapter gets more nightmarish, and you don't actually know where the bottom was. I would have told you probably four losses ago that it's not going to get any worse than this. But my God, and I don't know how it does. If he has the answers to fix it, because I think if he had the answers, we would see something different. They're bleeding goals non-stop, and they don't know how to stop it. Yeah, they've conceded more goals than Crystal Palace and Everton, which is quite remarkable. I think it's 23 goals now, which is a shame. But listen, what makes it worse is the fact that this was a derby game. You're playing against your local rival, who are also going through their own struggles, appointed a new manager trying to correct things, and you were also leading this game in the 88th minute. And then to lose the game from the 88th minute onwards, it's a disaster. I mean, and this is why Pep Guardiola is in the state that he's in right now. Signed a new contract. Obviously, a lot has been said about Manchester City with Pep Guardiola going forward. They're minus some key players. But still, if you look at the 11 and some of the players that City have on the bench, they still have enough to be able to do damage in the Premier League and win games. I just can't quite put my finger on why they're losing as many games. What was that you just showed me in the break? How funny was that? NYCFC's new head coach. There was a message out there that said a picture of Pep Guardiola, that NYCFC is looking for a new coach, and they might just have one in Pep Guardiola. The two-year contract was with City Football Group, not with the Manchester City. I'd love to see it.
Speaking of managers, though, it's got to feel so nice, hasn't it, for Ruben Amorim, who made some massive decisions coming into this game, obviously, to leave Rashford and Garnacho out of the matchday squad and to win against Manchester City. That's got to be the highlight of the season.
Look, I've been a part of clubs where you're starting from the bottom and now you're here because of these moments. And the biggest thing and his biggest challenge isn't tactically. It's changing the culture of this football club. It's changing the culture of what's happening on the pitch. And when you leave players like Garnacho, who, he's been one of United's leading goal scorers this season, a player who struggled to fit in this new system. Marcus Rashford, his body language says, well, he wants to stay at home. And you make those bold decisions. Manchester United and Amorim, you needed a statement win to get buy-in from these players. And I think this was it. They smelt blood in the water. And for the first 45 minutes, we were all looking at it saying, wait a second, I think they have a chance. They were committed to playing out of the back, which is always risky. It's shown to be risky in some of the previous matches. But when you have young players, I'm a firm believer in this, that young players, they don't know how good they are, they don't know how bad they are. They have a young player in Amad Diallo who is a star. This kid is the next big thing coming out of Old Trafford, and he's a player that's been freed. He's been unlocked, and him playing higher up the field is massive for Manchester United.
But for them to play like that, does that show how far Manchester City have fallen as well, that teams aren't looking at them thinking, wow, this is Manchester City we're playing against away from home. They're looking at this as a wounded animal, and let's make things worse.
100%. And Grella, I agree with you that the match that proved that the City shine, the City swagger is no longer back was the Feyenoord match. Yet again, another match where at home, the last 3 matches City have played, Manchester United at home, they've beaten them. They've looked imperious. I go back to the match last season where United take the lead, and then City, they're like, okay, Phil Foden, we'll bang in a goal. The party's over. Today, as soon as Kevin De Bruyne came off, you could see Ruben Amorim, you could see United just grow into the match thinking, we have a chance here. And full credit to another player who fluffed his lines. Bruno Fernandes missed a wide-open goal, but converted the penalty kick.
Like in derby games and that, you need a bit of luck to go in your favour. It's 88th minute, and then all of a sudden you get a penalty kick and a bit of quality. It's mistakes that happen along that back line to allow Amad Diallo to get in behind. But I want to point out real important how it's been for Amorim coming into this Manchester United, because I bet you the job that he signed up for, it's a lot bigger than what he expected it was going to be. And part of the problem, obviously, is winning games. And when you win over your supporters with victories like this, it buys you more time and more patience from the supporters to be able to buy into exactly what Amorim's trying to do at that football club. He's got a hell of a lot of work to do regardless of this victory. But going back, I mean, I think it was the third game into this 11-game stretch where City have won only one. He was with Sporting Lisbon, where they pumped Manchester City by 4 goals to 1. And now to beat them again, I mean, that is a statement for me that Amorim is a very good coach.
Does it win over the locker room as well? Because say they lost today, Marcus Rashford and Garnacho are sat at home thinking, OK, you want to leave us out of the matchday squad? Off you go.
Brave.
But now they're looking at it thinking they're OK without us against Manchester City.
Yeah, but it's brave though, Poppy. I mean, listen, Sir Alex Ferguson, I think, was the first one to ever do it against Manchester City, to win that first one. And Amorim's just done it in his first one, right, as Manchester United boss. That is special in itself, but it is brave to make a decision to leave those type of players at home. It's crazy.
You have to make a decision and stick with it and be tough with it, but like you just make the point, then you have to still win games, because if you make crazy decisions, I think we saw with Fonseca at Milan, he made some crazy decisions with Leao and Theo, but then didn't get the results, and then all the pressure comes back on you. But to go away to Man City and get the result after dropping them is great. I think the game that really showed me that teams smell blood on the water with Manchester City was when they played Liverpool. I mean, the first 20 minutes was like, it's like me arm wrestling my 8-year-old son. It was like, it was embarrassing. It was one-way traffic. It was like, we don't have any respect for you. We are going to beat you in every category of the game.
Do we feel sorry for them, though, Grilla? I don't feel sorry for Manchester City. Do you know how much joy they've had? The amount of times they've won it. They've won it four times consecutively. The trophies, the European trophies, all the joy, new contracts, blah, 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 blah. At some point, it was going to come crashing down.
Well, Ian, remember, stay humble. Stay humble, yeah? Stay humble.
I mean, what will he do, Pep Guardiola? If you are in his shoes, yes, you've already scratched your head. Now you're going back and you sat with your staff thinking, what's the next step? Are you realistically looking at this team, Grella, saying it's going to come together? Or are you looking at it thinking we need to make a list of what we need in the January transfer window and we need to make significant changes?
I don't know if they can spend, though. I don't know if they can.
But they could sell players, right? They could sell to then bring in. So they could.
This is all with the looming 130 charges now. They add 15 charges to it. So that's an issue. I think another talking point is about Pep himself, right? We all were like, the big discussion is he the best manager of all time, right? Or is he one of the best, of his time? Obviously he is. But he's never been in this situation.
Is this putting some shade on it?
But every week, every week we no. I mean, I think if you look at the body of work, this is like going to be like that big at the end of it. But we always wonder, well, what would it be like if because his comparison is maybe like a Carlo Ancelotti, and he went to Everton and didn't do so well, and Napoli and didn't do so well because he didn't have the massive budget and the massive players. Everywhere Pep has gone, he's had the best players, the best team, and he's at the best club.
Do you not think it's time for a change, though, for Manchester City at some point? I mean, I don't want to ever throw this at Pep because of his success, but do you not think at some point Pep Guardiola has maybe had enough of this himself, and Manchester City might be better going in a different direction? I look at the success Liverpool have had since Klopp walked out the door. You bring in Arne Slot, rejuvenates the whole squad. Then all of a sudden they have this big bounce. I mean, Manchester City are flat right now. Injuries haven't helped them, I know that. But I'm just wondering, maybe it's better for both of them. Pep looks like he needs a break, right? He looks like he's burnt out right now.
He looked a bit like Klopp.
Needs a change.
How Klopp said he felt
exhausted,
drained from the game, kind of is how Pep looks on the sideline. Where
he can't be enjoying this.
And injured as well. Tired and injured, scratching his head.
I go back to when this project first started with City, and remember when they played Monaco and got absolutely just wiped off planet Earth? And Pep looked sorrowful. A lot of the same, I mean, he looks emo. Sitting there, coat, looking like a Harry Potter character, just doing this the whole time. Those memories are back for him in City right now.
How does he correct that, Mike?
You got to go to your physio and get the likes of your defenders that are back. Your Nathan Akes, who has a knock, you get those players back. Then there's a bit of light at the end of the tunnel. But right now, the Ruben Diaz's, the Kyle Walkers, they look labored. Guardiola gets a goal, but in transition, this team,
go to church.
You got to be more pragmatic. Right now, they're so expensive.
Whatever church you belong to, that's where you got to go back. You got to do a lot of.
After the Champions League loss, you said, perfect, the odds are going to be so good for Manchester City to win the Champions League. I'm going to put my money on it. Do you still feel that way?
Yeah, I think, look, we're all sitting here and making jokes and enjoying it, but I do think there is a point where they turn it around. There is a point where nobody's going to want to play Man City come March time.
Yeah.
That's a fact of life, no matter what.
I don't know, Grub.
I feel that way.
This has gone from bad to worse, man. This might get even worse than this. We've got Villa next.